Welcome to the Cannabis 101 podcast, your guide through the legalization and consumption of cannabis in Canada and beyond. Here's your host, Dean Millard.
Hey there, and welcome to the Cannabis 101 podcast here from the Marsh at Podcast Alley. If you're watching us on YouTube, the WeedTube, or any of our various social media streams, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're listening on your favorite podcast app, we thank you for downloading this episode. It's number 43, and remember, it's not just about getting high, it's about getting healthy. But before we do anything, before we go any further, I need to find out, what's your groove?
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Can you dig it?
Kinda grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
Pipe in a grape, long in a blend.
This is great. This is the bee's knees.
Can you dig it?
All right, so when I say what's your groove, I want to know if you are grooving with something while you're listening to this show, what it is, what strain, what method, anything. Maybe it's a joint, maybe it's some CBD capsules to relax you, maybe it's an edible. I'm not really sure. I've got the what I call the Hexasaurus Rex, the hexagon from Burnt. I've got it loaded up with some mango haze. Gives me a good dose of energy. Allows me to focus. I do have some other things that I have to do, and it's not gonna out of this world make me lie on the couch and do nothing. So without further ado, let me get my groove on. All right, so if you are grooving with anything, please let me know. Hit me up on any of our social media feeds and let me know what you are grooving with. It's just a lot more fun if you participate while you listen.
You mind if I do it, Jay?
Anything you want, dude. Anything you want. All right, so here's what's coming down the pipe on this episode. Mike Lewis is the Grow Pro. He's going to join us, and if you're looking at getting into a home grow operation, he is a man that can definitely help you out with that. David Wiley from the OZ will join us once again for This Week in Cannabis News. Unfortunately, some sad news from the cannabis world. A young girl who inspired many lost a battle, likely due to COVID-19. So we'll tell you about that, as well as some good news for the Ontario consumer as far as retail outlets being allowed to stay open in a few ways. Chris Ianson from Nova Cannabis, Jasper Ave, our educator, will drop by. Looking forward to bringing you What's That Strain? Strawberry Twist from Sundial. I think you're going to like it. And our cannabis question is about your favorite time of day to consume. I want to hear your thoughts. We'll get into that a little bit later. We'll, of course, give you our promo code for Lobo Genetics. You can get 50% off a DNA kit, and we will continue telling you about our April appreciation party. To get in on it, all you have to do is subscribe to our newsletter on our website at www.cannabis101podcast.ca. All right, the Cannabis and Hemp Expo has been rescheduled October 3rd and 4th. It will go once again at the Edmonton Expo Center, and we will be there on location with a booth. We will be doing some podcasts, so if you want to be a part of the show, you can come and say hi. and we'll have some goodies to give away. So that has been rescheduled. It was supposed to be later this month, but obviously so many things have been rescheduled. So October 3rd and 4th is the Cannabis Hemp Expo. You can get more details at cannabishempexpo.com. Looking forward to that. And as always, I love telling you about Lobo Genetics and how you can get 50% off your DNA kit when you use the promo code Cannabis101. Head to lobogene.com, use the promo code Cannabis101, and boom. It's like having your own bud tender, because not only do you find out how you metabolize cannabis, also how you react to THC as far as your mental health and memory, potential memory loss risks. So it tells you a little bit about, what you can enjoy and maybe what you should stay away from. But then it makes recommendations. I'm going with Mango Haze today in What's Your Groove because it was recommended for when I need some energy and looking for some focus. It was recommended. So head to lobogene.com, use the promo code Cannabis101 and get 50% off your DNA kit at www.lobogene.com.
It's prize time. Chime in on the cannabis question.
Okay.
And you could win a Cannabis 101 podcast prize pack.
Pipe and a crepe, bong and a blint.
Hit us up on any of our social media feeds or email us at cannabis101podcast@gmail.com.
Okay, here we go.
Our cannabis question today is, what is your favorite time to consume? Favorite time to smoke, eat, dab, whatever it might be. What is your most favorite time? Listen, I don't really have a time where I don't like to consume. So I really love every minute of the day. Obviously 420 people like to light up at that point sometimes, but if I had to narrow it down to one, I am a sucker. I'm a sucker when it comes to wake and bake. When I have a day off and I have enough things or I don't have anything on the go, I absolutely love, hitting my ice cold hexagon or rolling a joint. Maybe you have some King Palms, some special papers or something like that. A wake and bake, especially in the summertime, if you can be outside in the sun in the morning, it is absolutely my favorite time to consume. But like I said, I don't turn down many times to consume as long as I have no work to do. So my favorite time is the wake and bake. But of course, I want to hear what your favorite times of the day or night to consume. When do you really like to get after it? You can hit me up on Twitter at thecannabis101. And of course, we will be giving away a prize pack just for submitting your responses. Dead Deer 1 says right before bed or when cleaning the house these days. Cannabis is great for house cleaning. Pope Snow says morning. I love my homemade coconut oil and honey on toast and then keep it going all day. Nice. And Muffled Cream says during quarantine all day. Yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to really enjoy working from home and having the odd hit from a bong or a pipe or a little bit of a J. Probably helps them get more stuff done. I'm so much more productive when I am able to use cannabis. Whether I'm doing some editing for this show or my other podcasts or anything like that. So I think a lot of people are probably enjoying it during the day right now. So that is our cannabis question. What is your favorite time to consume? Hit us up on any of our social media feeds at the Cannabis 101 on Twitter, at the Cannabis 101 podcast on Instagram, the Cannabis 101 Podcast on Facebook, and you can email us cannabis101podcast at gmail.com. Remember, you can be anonymous and still win a Cannabis 101 Podcast prize pack. Just let us know that you would like to remain anonymous, and you could still be victorious in that way. All right, before we get to our April appreciation party and our main interview, I want to tell you what goes well with cannabis, or I want to ask you what goes well with cannabis. What do you pair with cannabis? That's what I am looking for today. For me, I'm watching old baseball. I'm watching a ton of old baseball games right now. They all look like potheads. They all got like, the stash, the crazy sideburns. Some of them look a little bit like hippies. So I'm loving, digging the old baseball games, like the 1970s. The 50s and 60s, they were pretty clean cut. But in the 70s and the early 80s, man, there was some raunchy looking characters with some wild hair. So I'm loving old baseball games. That's what I'm pairing well with cannabis in the last little while. With no live sports to watch, it's all I can get, and I'll take it. All right, before we get to our April appreciation party announcement, here's the weed song from the artist My Dead Dog.
Smoke some grass. It's time to bust out this podcast.
This is the Cannabis 101 podcast, your guide through the legalization and consumption of cannabis in Canada and beyond.
Beautiful. The weed song from the artist My Dead Dog leads us right into our April appreciation party update. So this is what we're doing. Each week we'll have a giveaway. We started last week with a Regal cigar, courtesy of Andre from Regal Cigars. Check them out at www.theregalcigar.com. And to wrap up 420 month, we will have a grand prize package, and we will be revealing those items one at a time. Last week, it was a 4-pack of Regal cigars. So you're getting every single Regal cigar. You're getting the walnut, the Paduk, the Purple Heart, the Zebrano. Pretty awesome. We also announced earlier last week that courtesy of the fine folks at Spirit Leaf Argyle in Edmonton, we're adding a beaker bong to the mix. So you're going to get 4 cigars and a giant beaker bong. And that's not all. We are also going to throw in a free DNA kit from Lobo Genetics. So this is good news. You can get your 50% off with using the promo code the Cannabis 101 or Cannabis 101, all one word. And also, if you win this grand prize package, you're getting a free DNA kit as it is. So more grand prizes to announce as we get closer to the end of the month. But here's how you get in on the mix. Head to our website, cannabis101podcast.ca, subscribe to the newsletter. That's it. If you're subscribed to the newsletter, you're in for the giveaway every Friday during April and the grand prize 420 package at the end of the month as we celebrate 420 month all of April. Plus, it's an easy way to keep up with, hopefully, your favorite podcast. So there it is, the April appreciation party. We are celebrating 420 month all April long. And I want you to get in on the mix. Easily just sign up to the cannabis website at www.cannabis101podcast.ca. Hit subscribe. You're in the mix, and you could be walking home with a Regal cigar every Friday in April or the grand prize package as well. Mike Lewis, the Grow Pro, in just a few seconds.
is the Cannabis 101 podcast, your guide through the legalization and consumption of cannabis in Canada and beyond.
Excited to have Mike Lewis joining me. He is the Grow Pro, and this is the Cannabis 101 podcast. Mike, thanks very much for being here. First of all, tell us a little bit about what the Grow Pro is.
Well, at the Grow Pro, we're dedicated to helping you achieve top quality and yield by providing grow room design, installation, custom hydroponic systems, aeroponic systems, and comprehensive tech support.
Quite interesting. What did you do before you got the Grow Pro off the ground? Actually, what did you do before you got into cannabis, or is this something that's kind of always been a job for you?
Cannabis has always been in and out of my life. Definitely been involved in it for sure throughout my life since I was a teenager. But before this, I was working on the rigs for several years, and then I actually decided to become a ski and snowboard instructor part-time, and I started the Grow Pro so that I could be at home and be with my family more.
That's the best thing. When you can do something that you love, and obviously you have a passion for this, but work it into being able to spend more time at home. That's wonderful. Was there kind of one moment where you were working and you thought, you know what, I can turn my passion and my knowledge into something that can not only be a career for me, but help a whole lot of other people? Was there one kind of like light bulb moment that went off for you?
Probably a few light bulb moments. I started getting a lot of friends asking me for advice or calling me asking how they should do certain things or how they would implement something, how they would design something, what size tent they would use, lighting systems, whatever. They just asked me all kinds of questions and how to set stuff up. And then I started realizing, hey, if I'm good at this and if people are calling me for it all the time, why not capitalize on it and make a business on it and do what I love?
Well, that's the thing. That was going to be my next question. You have all these friends coming to you for advice and questions and things like that. Obviously you have a strong background into how to grow the plant from start to finish, etc. How did you start off growing? What was it? First of all, even before the Grow Pro came about, how did you end up getting into growing?
That was kind of just opportunity, and I think a lot of it had to do with location. I grew up in Penticton, BC, and everybody and their dog out there pretty much grows. So it's pretty normal to be involved in it in some shape or form out there. And as kids, actually, like 12, 13, 14 years old, we used to work as trimmers for various different growers in town, just helping out with their local grows and helping look after it and trim it up, whatever they needed done, watering, whatever. And so we got firsthand experience learning what growing was all about. And it was just really cool experience for us. So we got a bag of weed at the end of the day and we were happy and that was good. But growing up, as I got older, it definitely started progressing.
Cannabis has kind of seemed like it's kind of second nature, especially in that area. As you said, everybody will seem to be involved in it. A much different world, I guess, much different part of the country than as you start expanding and you realize, oh my goodness, cannabis isn't normal for a lot of people like it is back home.
No, and that was one thing that I noticed when I moved here in Alberta, and actually that's one of the biggest reasons that I wanted to start growing my own and really just be self-sufficient in that regard. The biggest thing for me, I think, was the fact that the majority of weed that I could get in the black market was garbage, or I had to rely on weed dealers with really horrible times, like crack dealer times, like I don't know what else to call it, but they'll tell you they're going to be there in an hour and show up in 7 hours, or they'll tell you they're going to be there that day and show up 3 days later. So it's just super unreliable, and especially getting what you want when you want.
Yeah, you know what? I think the biggest thing, and I think we saw a prime example of it is the poison in the black market vapes, right? That's the concern is you don't know what's going into it unless you know the grower intimately. You don't know how this product is being produced or marketed or packaged or anything like that, and what goes into it. When you grow at home, when you do it yourself, you know everything. So what is it that attracts you to the growing process?
What attracts me to the growing process is pretty much just really being able to control every aspect of the product I'm consuming, from, like you said, like from the nutrients that I'm putting into the plant to the way I cure it, to the way I process it, even just to the different strains that I choose and how I choose to grow them, all that kind of stuff. You have absolute control over what you are producing, and you're going to get what you put into it. So if you put quality into it, you're going to get a quality product, right? So you're not always getting that when you go to the store. And I feel that a lot of the stuff that we get from the store is not exactly as high quality as they like to say it is.
I would agree with that. There is some really great stuff out there, but there are times where I'll bring something home from the store and I don't need a grinder for it because it just breaks up in my hand. It's so dry. Or, the trim job I got recently on something, it looked like it was done with a butter knife. So there are unfortunate examples out there, but there is some great stuff too. So it's a balance, and I think it will get better. I think the companies that are giving you the butter knife trim job aren't going to last. They're not going to be around because people aren't going to pay that much money for it. But I think it's a passion too, right? I mean, the people that I've talked to, they just absolutely love it. They care for it. They think of their plants almost childlike, as children and part of them. And you kind of have to have that, especially if you're going to do this a lot. Do you have a favorite aspect of the growing process?
I think my favorite aspect is just waking up in the morning and getting to see and experience what I've created. Even if it's just opening the tent, looking at what's going on, and saying hi to the girls, and it's a feel good feeling knowing that you've created this, that you have created life and nurtured life to this point, and it's become what it is. It's just it's a kind of a self-rewarding experience, I think, and any gardener, I think, could appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like you can I guess you can just half-ass it and do the work and not get emotionally attached, but I think most people do. And you can get really involved, whether it's playing music for your plants, talking to them. Our good friend Chris Ianson, he tells me he talks to his plants all the time and plays music for them. So there's a lot of other things from just the actual nuts and bolts of the growing that you can do to be involved and get emotionally invested in it, isn't there?
Absolutely, for sure. And actually, you're talking about music being played with plants. There's actually science now to back that up. And scientists have confirmed through multiple different tests now and different theories and whatever, they've proven that plants will actually grow up to 10 to 15% better played with classical music and certain different types of music. Indian classical music, I heard as well, will actually produce the right vibrations to increase the grow capacity of most plants. So it's actually really interesting, the science behind that kind of stuff.
Wow. It is amazing. Not only are we finding out so much more about the plant itself, and the different cannabinoids and terpenes that we're discovering, but now we're discovering how we can improve the quality of this plant. I mean, the greatest thing about legalization, it's awesome that I can go to a store, buy a joint, come home, smoke it, and my neighbor's not going to go reefer madness and call the cops on me. That's awesome. But the greatest thing is the research that we're going to learn about, the medical benefits of the plant and, the technological advances in the growing aspect. I mean, it is such an exciting time for everything in the industry right now, particularly in the growing aspect, isn't there?
Absolutely. Pretty much right now, the legal industry, especially up in Canada, has pretty much, and because we have a federal legalization, we have given the green light to companies to go ahead and unlock all that resources and all that money and go ahead and spend that on R&D, research and development, legally now, whereas it was just Johnny in his backyard or in his underground bunker or whatever, growing weed, experimenting with different strains and whatever. Now you have actual scientists with funding and unlimited resources. Well, not unlimited, but massive amounts of resources compared to whatever guys in the black market had, right? So it's very interesting time, and the growth is explosive overnight. We're seeing that in the market, especially for grow supplies and equipment, even the LED market, especially.
It is, pardon the pun, it is a growing industry for sure. I mean, the things I didn't know about cannabis seemed endless when I first started this podcast. I mean, my cannabis knowledge before, and I've said this story quite a bit, is here's $50, I'll take whatever. And then, bags started showing up with a name like Green Crack on it. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Because honestly, until I started, till legalization, until I started doing research to get this podcast off the ground, I thought Cheech and Chong made up the strain Maui Wowie. I didn't know that there were actual strain names. So there's so much to learn. And, and I think I've learned a lot, and there's, millions of things that I can still learn. I imagine, one of the things that I wanted to grow something myself, Mike, is to be able to name it. I mean, to be able to put a name on something that you grow or you crossbreed or whatever, I think would be such a fun thing to do.
Now that you've said that, Dean, it's interesting. I was going to comment, my brother and I experimented a little bit with breeding ourselves, and we took some discontinued strains, Bachio Blackhead and Nirvana Special, and we combined it to make our own strain, and we actually got it all dialed in and everything. But now we're calling it Black Nirvana, and nobody else has the opportunity to recreate it because those other two strains that we made it out of are no longer available. So nobody else can make it unless they have seeds sitting in a seed bank somewhere. So it's that feeling when you've made your own strain and you can feel like, yeah, this is my strain that I grew, that I developed, that I bred, that you started from literally nothing, is a very, very rewarding experience, I think.
And so unique, as you mentioned, very rare people are going to be able to recreate that. And, that's something that, probably comes with time and experience of learning how to grow, and then you move to that next step. So let's start with, kind of with what you do with the Grow Pro, and, we'll get into detail, but what are some of the most common questions that you get about growing from, somebody that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of experience? What are the most common things that you get asked?
A lot of the things people ask me is if they should go hydroponic right away or if they should go with soil. And then generally I'll go over and explain the pros and cons of both of those. But generally soil is a little bit more forgiving for the newer growers. I definitely recommend starting with soil right off the hop. It's just a little bit more forgiving. With the hydroponics, if you make a mistake, it's usually life or death mistake, and that's never a good thing. So a lot of the other questions I get are usually pertaining to how do I limit mold or humidity. A lot of people get too much mold or humidity, or they see weird spots on their leaves. They're asking me about different diseases or things they're seeing, or just how much does something cost. That's a pretty common question. And stuff can get pretty pricey because there's a lot of gimmicky stuff out there, and there's a lot of people overcharging in the industry for sure. So you can get taken for a ride pretty easily.
You know what it kind of reminds me of is in like the early 90s, especially, and into the 2000s, the golf industry had something for everybody, right? This gimmick, this tool, this contraption that you can wear while you're swinging is going to fix your swing. Like there was so much stuff out there that was baloney. And I think that's probably something that people really have to be careful of, is you can end up purchasing a lot of unnecessary things.
I think that is best demonstrated whenever, especially in like pro sports and stuff like that. You ever see a professional person, doesn't matter what type of sport, doesn't matter if it's tennis or golf or professional snowboarding or whatever. You give them a crappy snowboard, you give them a crappy tennis racket, you give them a crappy golf club, they're still going to outperform with whatever you give them. It's not usually the equipment, it's usually the person running the equipment 9 times out of 10.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not the tools, it's the carpenter that is the issue. What about the most common mistakes? I mean, because people want to know the pitfalls to avoid, because this is not only time consuming, but you're putting a lot of money and energy into this, and we all want to have success at the end. So what are some of the common pitfalls that first time growers fall into?
A lot of first-time growers will overcomplicate the process. They'll get worried about all the gimmicky stuff they can buy to make it better and stuff like that. But I recommend to everybody, right off the hop, you got to focus on the basics. You got to focus on things like airflow, exhaust and intake, having the old air exhausted and the fresh air coming in to keep that fresh CO2 for the plants to breathe and stay alive and grow wonderfully. Also, too much heat. A lot of people are not maintaining temperatures or aware of different temperatures. Also, we have very dry air here in Alberta. A lot of people are unaware of that as well. You want to be running some type of humidifier in the vegetative stage to really supplement the growth to be as good as it can really be. Incorrect light schedules. I've noticed a lot of people don't know the proper light schedules they should be running, especially for the F1 plants, or they don't know if they're running an auto flower or an F1. Overwatering and underwatering. The average person who doesn't have any experience at gardening has no idea if they are overwatering or underwatering their plants. And that can be an issue right away. Some people think that the plant is drooping because there's not enough water, so they keep watering it and it dies.
Yeah.
So that's a really common problem. And also on the same lines of that, you see too much nutrients or newt burn. People think, oh, you can't give it too much nutrients. It's like food for the plants. Well, not really. So those are some of the most common problems we see.
Wow. Yeah. If you don't have an experience in gardening, and I'm not a gardener by any means, but you might want to start with growing some tomatoes first, because I hear that's kind of a similar process before you jump into this, because like I said, the time that you invest, and because it's not just like a 2 or 3 week thing that you're getting into. This is an actual commitment. So, are tomatoes? Would that be something good to practice on first?
If you're not spending too much money on your cannabis seeds, I would recommend going right off the hop with cannabis seeds, just so you know how cannabis seeds operate, how they sprout, and how they grow. I would just use cannabis seeds if you can afford it, other than the fact that 9 times out of 10 you're paying $10 a seed or some ridiculous price when you're buying them off the internet. But I would recommend just growing what you're going to grow. Practice with what you're going to do in the real life.
Where are some of the best places to get seeds from? Where do people find seeds?
I was using Canuck seeds. I'm a big fan of Barney's Farm seeds right now. We've had a lot of success with the Barney's Farm seeds. There's some other good ones. Canuck is definitely a really good one. There was a good seed bank I was using online that was like a broker for seed banks. I can't remember the name though. My brother would be the guy to ask for that stuff. He's really a seed guy. All right.
Well, and can you buy seeds from retail stores?
No, most stores cannot offer seeds unless they are selling them as a collectible item, which most stores are not able to get away with.
Okay, so there you go. You have to do a little bit of work to find the seeds. We are talking with Mike Lewis. He is the Grow Pro. First of all, Mike, before we get into some specific things that you do with your clients, how can people track you down if they're looking for some help, especially right now? A lot of people might be stuck at home really worried about their home grow operation.
If you're looking for anything at all for hydroponic application, grow room application, anything like that, just give me a call at 780-240-9859, or you can look me up on Facebook at facebook.com/thegowpro780, or you can also add me on Instagram. Same thing, Facebook 780, the GoPro 780.
All right, so let's chat a little bit about what you specifically offer. I know we talked about in the overview, but are you able to help somebody from beginning to end? Can you jump in the middle if somebody's having a problem? Do you offer kind of like the full service package for the beginner, the expert? What sort of specific things do you help people with?
I do pretty much everything. So right from building your building to building your grow room to setting up your grow tent, whatever we will install it, we'll set it up, and we'll get you going. If you already have a setup going and you have questions about it or whatever, we can do video assessments and see what's going on and give you our recommendations over the phone. And we also build and design custom hydroponic and aeroponic systems directly to fit whatever your grow room is, whatever your setup is. We'll build it. We'll make it work exactly how you want. You want a hybrid system, you want just hydroponic, whatever. We can build it.
That's interesting. What sort of space requirements do you recommend for people? What's the sort of smallest amount of space that people can get away with?
The smallest amount of space I'd try and get away with that's really functional is, I would say, a 3x3. If you just want to grow one plant even and have a decent sized plant, I would go with a 3x3.
Okay. And as far as expectations for somebody, I guess it may depend on things, but what's the average yield that a person can expect off of, say, one plant?
Well, whenever you look online and you go to buy seeds, they're gonna say that you can get 500 or 600 grams per square meter or whatever like that, and that's not a very realistic expectation for anybody, especially if it's their first time growing. I would definitely say it's closer to 200 to 250, 300 grams, depending on your experience level with growing, is definitely going to be your biggest factor on how much you yield.
All right. So, yeah. And obviously, just like cannabis affects people differently, all the different kinds of strains and, whatever type it might be is going to fluctuate as well. So a lot of people are stuck at home right now. They might have concerns. They might not want to leave their house. Are you doing a lot of kind of video analysis right now, or by phone, even a conversation? I'm sure somebody can describe something and you can figure out what it is. Are you doing a lot of consulting from home right now?
Yeah, pretty much with the technical support over the phone. That's eating up a lot of my time right now. Just answering questions, lots and lots of questions. People are kind of have the time right now, so they're sitting there playing around and messing around, and also a lot of people are getting government money all of a sudden and want to spend it, so they have questions on how they can do that too. So yeah, it's really interesting right now. There's a lot of people that are interested in that, and any questions, we can answer them. We can help you out.
All right, so let's just look at first-time grower. Kind of what's a standard setup that they should expect to be looking at? What are a few essentials that they will need?
So for a first-time grower, depending if you want to go with like a one plant or a 4-plant system, if you want to go with a 4-plant, I'd go with a 4x4 system. If you want to just do one plant, I'd go with a 3x3 system. But it's key to make sure that you are able to control the environment, and then able to do that is best done with a grow tent. So buy a grow tent, make sure you're able to get intake and exhaust. So at the very least, have an exhaust fan and a filter if you want to filter that air. If you don't care about smell, doesn't matter. Grab yourself some dirt. I would recommend grow bags, the fabric grow bags, but you can do it in pots as well if that's what you prefer. Basically, you don't need to spend a lot of money. I would get a small fan for the floor, another fan to blow air above the plant. and a basic light. You can go with CFL, you can go with high pressure sodium, you can go with LED. I recommend LED just because they're low heat and low maintenance. You don't have to change bulbs, they last forever. But yeah, I would definitely stick to the basics. Don't worry about spending all the money on all the gimmicky little gadgets and stuff like that. Just stick to the basics and be able to stay on top of your temperature, your humidity, your airflow, and your lighting.
And I'd imagine you can help everybody, by finding and helping them find where they can get all those products as well, because, that could be another intimidating thing for some people. For some people, it's intimidating to go into a retail cannabis shop, and for others, it might be intimidating, going into a setup shop as well. And I'm sure you can give them some tips on the best places to find all those products.
Absolutely. And if you want to get a setup and you're unsure of what to get, just talk to us. We'll tell you we'll give you a list of everything you need to go get. Go and get it from the store. We'll tell you where to get it, where to order it. They can directly deliver it to your house if you like, whatever. Even right now with the COVID-19, everything, I know a couple different locations, they actually hand out my cards personally to anybody who asks for this type of service. So if you need help with that, definitely give me a shout.
Apologize. Just got a tickle here. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
Holy man, I gotta take my inhaler here. Oh, sorry about that, Mike.
You good?
Yeah, I just got an attack there. I just had to get my inhaler. So, all right. So I'll just pick off right from where you're there. And 3, 2. Well, we talked earlier about some of the fears that you can have if you're dealing with somebody in the black market. Is that the number one benefit in home growing? And what would you look at and say are maybe some of the main benefits of growing yourself?
Some of the benefits of being able to grow yourself, just being able to get what you want, how you want, when you want, at a price you can afford. You're not being shorted by Johnny from down the street. You're not being overcharged by the government down the street. And you're getting consistency of what you want, when you want. When you go to the store, when you call Johnny down the street, you don't always get the same strain. You're not always able to get it 6 months later. But if you're growing it and you grow the same strain all the time because that's what you like or whatever, you can get it all the time.
Yeah, never have to buy again, right? If you don't want to, unless, like the odd time you want to spend a little bit extra on a bottle of wine, maybe you'll go buy a specific strain. But if you're growing at home consistently, you have no reason to have to go out and buy it, right?
Absolutely. And it's just, it's a great experience too. A lot of people love it for just a great little hobby at home, but it's a one-time investment. So it's a short-term pain for a long-term gain, the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, there are people, and unfortunately I'm one of them, that doesn't have a lot of space. I live in a condo in a building, and I already have my office set up here to do podcasts, so I don't have a lot of space. I know the cannabis plant is a very hardy plant, and I know people that have rescued plants and brought them back, and it will regenerate on its own. So it's very cool in that. Can we grow outside here in this Edmonton, Northern Alberta climate? Is the plant hardy enough? Is our climate good enough in the summer? Can you grow outdoors? Would you recommend it?
That's two questions right there. So can we grow outdoors? Absolutely, we can grow outdoors. The climate in Alberta is not the most forgiving. It's very harsh. It's very windy. It's very cold at night. It's very dry air. There's a lot of pests and deer and stuff like that that'll eat it. but you can grow outside. If you can find somewhere that has decent wind coverage but still gets a lot of light and has protection from pests and deer and other animals, you can grow decent weed outside. Myself, I've done it. I've done it on my uncle's farm, and we've done it fairly successfully, actually. So it can be done. Now, quality is lacking. Mm-hmm. I would say for sure, and that's just because you're not able to produce the perfect environment. And that's the great thing about growing intense. You can create the perfect environment.
Right. Yeah. So if it's your, I guess if it's your only resort or your only thing, give it a try. But you would recommend going indoors. So one more time, Mike, run through the contact information, how people can track you down to get a little help from the GrowPro.
Okay, well, you can give me a call at 780-240-9859, or you can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/thegrowpro780 or Instagram at thegrowpro780.
Thanks very much for this, Mike. I really appreciate the information, and I definitely know that I'm going to give it a try at some point, so I'll be reaching out for some pointers.
Awesome. Right on, Dean. Thank you very much.
This is the Cannabis 101 podcast, your guide through the legalization and consumption of cannabis in Canada and beyond.
That was a fun conversation with Mike Lewis, the GrowPro, and I'm really excited to eventually get around to getting my Grow Act an operation going. And by the way, make sure you check out One Hitters later this week. It's a fun little thing we do as an aside to the episode with our main guest. So Mike Lewis participated in One Hitters. We'll release that in a couple of days. You can find it and full episodes at cannabis101podcast.ca, where you can, of course, sign up for our weekly newsletter and get in on the April Appreciation Party, which we have going all of 420 month.
What's happening? We'll tell you right now on This Week in Cannabis News.
Welcoming back my good friend David Wiley from OkanaganZ.com/OZ. David, how are things in your world these days?
Moving homes in the middle of a pandemic was an interesting experience, but all settled in now to a new place. It's this whole COVID thing is definitely disrupting things on every end right now. And, of course, wishing the best to everybody out there who's battling through this, particularly our hero healthcare workers and those working jobs that we now know are truly essential, grocery stores and the like.
No doubt. It really gives a lot of perspective to those people, particularly on the front lines and the medical staff as well. But we should not forget those of us who are still, or those people who are still out there working and working hard to keep things running as smoothly as possible and keep us within some sort of normalcy. I think it's really important to try to keep a sense of normalcy during this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever routines we can keep definitely are good for the mind.
All right, let's start with this first story that has kind of changed since we first chatted about what we were going to discuss this week, and that is the retail situation in Ontario. At first, it was closed, and the only way you were going to get your cannabis was through the Ontario government website and through mail, or for the most part, black market, because let's be honest, that's where people were going to go to. And now they've changed things up a bit and are going to allow retail outlets to still service consumers.
Yeah, they are. Ontario has been a bit of an on-again, off-again relationship when it comes to cannabis. Like you were mentioning, if you're trying to keep up, Ontario initially showed its progressive side and was, if not the first province, one of the first provinces to name brick-and-mortar cannabis retail stores as essential. And then they backtracked on that. They closed those stores and only opening up online purchases through the Ontario Cannabis Store. There was a bit of an outcry to that, of course, because you're creating a bit of a provincial monopoly there. So now they've gone back once again and are allowing retail stores to reopen, passing an order on Tuesday in the legislature, what they're calling an intent to curtail the illicit market. But what they're doing is they're allowing brick and mortar stores to open up, but under certain restrictions. So they want customers to use an online or ordering system to call ahead, figure out what they're going to buy, order off the menu, and then they could pick up those orders at the store. They're also allowing some retailers, those who have sales associates or trained under the provincial training program that's run by CanCell, to actually deliver cannabis to customers. Now, this order is going to last for about 14 days, but it could be extended as we see things continue. As people are still being urged to stay home to prevent the spread. And one thing that we're seeing here is that the demand for these services is very high right now. And these are services that people want, that people need right now. But these are also services that people are hoping will continue on into the future, even when we're through this crisis. It's similar to what's happening here in BC. There's what's called a click and pickup system. So it's just showing that the flexibility within the legalized system here is really helping people and really making sure that people are getting what they want from the legal market. And the outcry to keep cannabis stores open was tremendous. Thousands of signatures just over the course of a couple of days on a change.org petition that popped up asking to make cannabis stores essential. So we know that the demand is there, and it's really something that people are turning to ease their minds, to ease their anxieties. And, like you said off the top here, we'll keep a little bit of routine in our lives. And for us, it's nice to unwind after a day working from home. For healthcare workers or those essential workers that we talked about, we want to make sure that they have a way to unwind and relax, and just enjoy an evening.
100%. I think that's really well said. And, there's a reason liquor stores are allowed to stay open because, unfortunately, people will go into withdrawal. And for cannabis, or for a lot of people, cannabis is medicinal. And I love the thought and forward thinking of delivery, because I've been saying that here in Alberta and other places. Because listen, the fastest, or one of the fastest growing demographics is seniors when it comes to cannabis use. And one of the most impacted demographics with COVID-19 is seniors. So they don't want to go out to get what might be their medicine. So it's good that cannabis is being deemed an essential service like some of these other things, because for a lot of people, it is medicine. And it's also so very important and good news that, cannabis and the industry is going to get some of that federal relief that, we had talked about a while back. It wasn't looking good news. So good that cannabis is an essential service as it's considered, and that it'll be getting some money, cash relief here, this industry.
There have been a lot of about faces on cannabis throughout this whole pandemic.
Yes.
Late last month, Aurora Cannabis senior vice president, I should say, for global government relations, Rick Savone, he called out the Business Development Bank of Canada, Export Development Canada, and Farm Credit Canada for cutting off the cannabis sector from all financial aid. The reasons he said appeared to be unclear. From our point of view, from my point of view anyway, it still seems to show the stigma that's hanging over top of this industry. And just now, BDC is saying, that's the Business Development Bank of Canada, is saying that the cannabis sector is now eligible for the $40 billion credit program that it's managing. And that bank's CEO said that the program is going to be open to all businesses who apply through their own banks to access that program. And that's great. We should be able to access cash in this industry. There was a letter signed by you that was sent forward to ensure that all of these cannabis businesses, which are being declared essential, should also be have that aid available to them. And that's not the only letter. There are other letters that have been sent to the government. The message seems to be getting through that aid needs to come. We need to support this legal industry. It's been a bit of a downturn that we've had to face. We're seeing online sales that are breaking records at some stores. Others that I've been to, talked to, are already starting to experience that slowdown. And the analysts who are watching this industry are seeing the trend. So we have consumers right now that are stocking up. They're making sure that they've got enough product to last them a while. Same thing that we've been seeing in other things. People are buying canned foods. People are buying toilet paper, too much damn toilet paper. And people, of course, are stocking up on their cannabis products. What will happen over time is that the recession is going to deepen and people will have their stock, and we're going to see less customers going through these retail stores. We're going to be seeing less customers purchasing products from the different producers. And there will be a need for aid to make sure that these businesses can continue on and make it through like all the other ones. So hats off to those who are helping these essential businesses through because they need it, and we want to make sure that they're supported.
Well, in a strange way, through this COVID-19 pandemic, David, we are seeing just how important cannabis is to a lot of people, not just a few people, but a lot of people, how it has become a regular part, a healthy, regular part of a lot of people's lives. And I think that maybe is going to open some eyes to a lot of people that were thinking, the stock prices weren't good, but it shows there's an appetite for it out there. And once we can, get back to some sort of normalcy and be within 6 feet of each other and, have a joint circle, a lot of these cannabis events are going to be popping up again. And I think there's going to be an uptick in not only in the attendance, people are going to want to do everything. They're going to want to do so many things. I think we're going to see an increase in attendance. The Cannabis and Hemp Expo in Edmonton was postponed until October. It's been now in October 3rd, and we'll be there live on location. But I think a lot of these things post COVID-19, we're going to see an increase in and maybe even more than we thought before.
I think so too. We're starting to see these conferences, like you said, get rescheduled. The Growing Summit here in the Kelowna area has been rescheduled tentatively for August 24th and 25th. The C45 Quality Summit in Fredericton is in September. Hemp Fest Calgary, not too far away from you, September 11th and 12th. And it's interesting also to see the hint of what things are going to look like in a post self-isolation kind of world. These kinds of events are seeing changes. The venues are getting bigger, for example, to make sure that people can still practice social distancing. In the meantime, once we're allowed to start having these events again, we're starting to see an increase of tickets being sold for just for a live streaming of events, so you don't have to be there in person, particularly if you're in a compromised situation, and have the fear of going out anyway at the best of times. Even here in the worst of times, I can't imagine having something where you're not able to fight off a virus like this. We're also seeing new positions being hired, like a manager of sanitation that's going to deliver on those extra sanitation protocols, going above and beyond standard venue services. At some of the cannabis conferences that are coming up, the organizers are providing silicone tips to prevent the sharing of smoking paraphernalia, so that's pretty cool. It's great to see these kinds of progressive changes happening. Even buffet meals are being turned into plated meals to prevent people, from basically serving themselves. So it's great to see organizers coming up with ways to make these events safer for everybody. And again, in situations like this, we're seeing some of the worst in people, but my goodness, are we ever seeing some of the best in people? and those who are going above and beyond to help others and make sure that everyone is safe and healthy.
We are speaking with David Wiley from the OZ. You can check it out at OkanaganZ.com/OZ. If you're watching on YouTube or the WeedTube or our social media streams, you can see it on the screen there. You can follow them at OkanaganZ on Twitter and at Wiley Writer. And David, we unfortunately have to end on a very sad note. A very young, brave girl has lost her life to what they're saying is a likely COVID-19 case. And this is the girl who inspired the CBD strain Charlotte's Web, a girl that was suffering, massive grand mal seizures, and her parents, were very brave themselves to go into a new brave world that gave her some sort of relief. So a sad, sad day and a sad story indeed.
Yeah, Charlotte Fiji, she was 13. I apologize if I mispronounced her last name, because to many of us in the cannabis industry, she was just known as Charlotte. And she's the namesake of Charlotte's Web, which is a high CBD, low THC strain. Just from the age of 3 months old, she started suffering from seizures from Dravet syndrome, which is a severe and difficult to control type of epilepsy. It causes really prolonged seizures. So trying out all kinds of different heavy pharmaceutical drugs, the family just grew tired of the side effects and turned to cannabis, particularly at a time years ago when it was really frowned upon. Even today, the strides that we've made are unbelievable, and in large part thanks to Charlotte and her family for normalizing this kind of treatment. All over the world, you'll find similar cases now that were inspired by her, of children who have been using cannabis oil to prevent seizures, to minimize the suffering that they've been going through. And as we've seen with this virus, it just doesn't let up. So Charlotte and her family had been sick for about a month, and other family members recovered. She didn't. Took a downturn. She was admitted to hospital. And on April 3rd, the family was saying that they've tried all their tricks, nothing worked, and then it seemed to get better. She was discharged on April 5th, and then unfortunately on April 7th, the family announced that she succumbed. In a Facebook post, they said that she's no longer suffering and she's seizure-free forever. It's very sad. They thanked everybody for their love, and Charlotte's Web also posted on its website in honor of her. And, they said that Charlotte was 10 feet tall and she carried the world on her shoulders. Inspiring is a lacking word. And she was courageous, vivacious, strong, and beautiful. And we just want to send our love here out to Charlotte's family as they mourn someone who's really a hero to us in cannabis and helping to bring this medicine to people.
Very well said. She is going to, her legacy is going to live on and help so many other children and people in general. Not really unlike Franco Lola from Strain Hunters. Franco's Lemon Cheese, a strain in his honor, and he died of malaria trying to treat people who had malaria with CBD, and he gave his life helping other people, and Charlotte her legacy will live on as well. So we should all pack a bowl or something and give a salute to Charlotte and Charlotte's Web for that, for sure. David, thank you as always, and hopefully we continue to get more and more good news, and I hope you and yours stay healthy and stay safe.
And you and yours. Thanks.
And make sure you're giving us a follow on Instagram as we do our 420 followers contest on that platform. We did it on Twitter, went off great. Once we hit 420 followers, everybody who's following us is in the mix for a Cannabis 101 podcast prize package. So just hit the follow button at the Cannabis 101 podcast on Instagram, and you are in the mix for a Cannabis 101 podcast prize package.
You got a joint?
No, not on me, man. It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Time now for Cannabis Characters.
Dopest dope I've ever smoked.
Celebrating the best from fictional 420 film.
Hey, I am your stoner.
And beyond.
Heavy girl with that, man. Is it heavy stuff, man?
We haven't done Cannabis Characters in a while, so I thought I would start trying to bring this back a little bit. We did of course, the massive Cannabis Character Cup, which Tommy Chong rightfully won, taking out the dude. I think that's I can't even remember. It was so close. It was actually the dude taking out Tommy Chong in a reverse. It was so close for that one. So I thought we'd bring this back, and this one I'm going with Floyd from True Romance, which was played by Brad Pitt. Not a huge role for Brad Pitt, but it's so interesting. The role ended up being the basis for the movie Pineapple Express, and the character of Saul Silver, played by James Franco. Brad Pitt originally in True Romance actually wanted to play the lead role that Christian Slater had, but he was doing a movie called California at the time, so he took the stoner role of Floyd. And then Judd Apatow took that character, made Pineapple Express, where Seth Rogen was originally supposed to play that character, and James Franco was going to play the buyer, and Seth Rogen the dealer, and they did one table reading, and he was like, nope, we're switching it, and James, you're going to be Saul, and so, and there you go. It's kind of like 6 degrees of separation from Brad Pitt and True Romance to Pineapple Express and James Franco and Saul Silver. And yeah, that is indeed your Cannabis Characters segment for today.
What's that strain? Let's find out with Chris Ianson, Nova Cannabis store manager and educator.
What's that strain on the Cannabis 101 podcast, as I welcome in our educator and the manager of the Jasper Avenue Nova Cannabis location. Chris Ianson joins us through Skype from his cannabis podcast studio. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great, team. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Good to have you aboard once again. We are doing Strawberry Twist this week, which is an indica leaning hybrid from Sundial, and Sundial is a great Alberta born company.
Alberta boys. For sure. So Sundial is they're initially known for Olds, Alberta. Currently their office is in Calgary. With Olds, Alberta, I think we talked about it before on the show, how it used to be known for oil and gas. Now it's known for oil and grass, which is cool. A lot of people are getting involved. They've got the university in Olds there has the horticultural program, and they're just pumping out master growers there, and everyone's getting involved. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that is so cool that they can combine education and then you know what? If you're looking for work, there's a company right out your doorstep in Olds College. Their head office is in Calgary, and this is a company that uses different techniques in agriculture and horticulture for a unique product.
Yeah, definitely. Big time. They combine the tried and true heartland farming processes with innovative horticultural techniques. So they're kind of taking it old school and introducing some new school to it. So it's pretty dope what they're doing. All the strains that I've tried from them have been great so far. So I'm a big fan of the Sundial stuff.
That is beautiful. You mentioned the education component of it when it comes to olds and that area, and one of your staff members is taking advantage of that program.
Yeah, that's right. My boy Rob, he has taken the horticultural online program, and he's loving it. He mentioned it's a lot of work. They definitely keep a guy busy. But he's very passionate about cannabis and super stoked to be, going to, weed college.
Very cool. Tell us about the 4 core values that Sundial goes by.
Yeah, so the 4 core values that they go by are we love our people, and so with that they're big on their staff, taking care of their staff. They really care, and I've got a couple of friends that work for the company that have nothing but good things to say. Shout out to my boy Sky. He's in the growing facilities there, and Darren, our very awesome sales rep who comes by the store time to time to kind of check in, and they all have nothing but great things to say about the company. So we love our people. That's the first one. We love our plants. That's the second one, and with that, they take a lot of care, and the TLC provided, and with their the pod rooms that they have at their facilities. Each pod room has its own master, and he has a team of people that work with him. It kind of turns into somewhat of a friendly competition. We want ours to be the best, but at the same time, they'll share their best practices. With the end result of trying to everyone succeed and grow and learn. So that's cool. They love to grow. That was the third one, and it shows. And it's a big part of the business. Obviously, being in the cannabis world, you gotta love to grow. And then we grow together was the 4th core value, and that just kind of ties back in with that whole team thing, where everyone is involved within the company.
Yeah, it sounds like they kind of value everybody, no matter what your position is. You have something to produce or to contribute. They want to hear from you, and I've talked with some different people that have worked and are working with Sundial, and you can advance throughout the company as well. They really seem to love to hire and promote from within, and gives you kind of incentive depending on what level you start at with the company.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see. They're definitely one of my an ideal cannabis company for I feel like the newer guys kind of breaking in, take a look at what Sundial's doing, and I definitely think they're going to be sticking around, and they'll get their piece of the pie.
So they also take advantage of technology, as you have to do in this day and age when you're growing on the scale that they do. So how do they use technology?
Yeah, so we talked about that innovative horticultural stuff. All their crops are computer monitored, and they monitor temperature, moisture, lighting, soil content, and much more. And with that, they track and analyze the data and kind of figure out which crops are the best. And with that, all their buds are carefully dried and cured with strict controls after the harvest too. Going back to what's worked best for us in the past, and it does show. And similar to what Edison does with a lot of these cannabis companies now, they're tracking the data of what's working best, and why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, you have to, right? This is too there's too much money invested in this not to take advantage of everything that is out there. And they, from the grow room where they have their master growers to along the chain right through to their customer care reps. Customer care is kind of a culture for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's something that's noticeable, worth talking about with Sundial. They definitely take the time to give their customers attention and assistance when needed. I know when the vape cartridges kind of first came to market, we were, stores had batteries to sell, and we had multiple LPs producing 510 vape cartridges, and there was some compatibility issues, and Sundial was the first company to like reach out to me at a store level and say they had a really nicely worded email saying, we understand there are issues with this. Please send any issues you may have our way. And they gave us a phone number and an email. And, that was awesome of them. It was super nice. Didn't end up having to use it, but just appreciated that. So kudos to them on that. They're great people.
Oh, that is awesome. They have, within the Sundial umbrella, there are 5 brands. Can you take us through some of them? Because I love it when an LP or whatever it might be has different levels, because there are obviously different levels of customer, from the consumer that wants to get the, most affordable product, to the one that doesn't mind spending a little bit extra for that top shelf kind of premier cola buds sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And they do kind of cover the spectrum with their brand. So it's pretty cool. First brand we'll talk about is Sundial, and that's kind of where it all started. And it's kind of consistent quality cannabis for a good price. And within Sundial, they've got kind of 5 different theories or moods, I guess. And it's calm, it's ease, it's flow, lift, and spark. And with those, they kind of vary from high THC indica to a balanced sativa. It varies on, but all that stuff's listed on their website. I'd recommend people check it out. Next, we'll talk about is Top Leaf, and Top Leaf is the high end kind of bougie, really, really nice craft cannabis. High quality stuff, that's for sure. You've had some Top Leaf in your time?
Yeah, I have. It is really well done. I also I had the strawberry cream converted into strawberry shortcake one time in a meal, and it was really delicious. And I've also had, did they put out a vape cartridge of strawberry cream? I think I know I grabbed something from Top Leaf as a vape cartridge, and it was delicious.
Yes, absolutely. The vape cartridges, that was the first one I bought.
Right.
The strawberry cream. It's full spectrum, delicious, very flavorful. They also have a really good Florida lemons, one that flies out. People are trying it out and like it, or coming back for, so that's cool. So yeah, that's Top Leaf. Packaging's really cool. The branding's pretty, it's dark and black, and it's got some edge to it.
Mm-hmm.
And really cool genetics. They've got the Yagorochi, GSP. Their Blue Dream is really nice too.
It really is. I've had their Blue Dream. It is it's nice, and you know me. I'm a big Blue Dream fan, so I'm pretty critical. It has to live up to my Blue Dream standards. So Sundial, we mentioned earlier, Olds has gone from oil and gas to oil and grass, and that's where Sundial got their start. But they then expanded in Alberta, BC, and possibly across the pond. Is that true?
Yeah, they did. Should I finish up the brands here, Dino?
Oh, did you? Have you not finished them?
No. There's Grassland.
Oh shit.
Meadow,
Okay.
TC.
Okay, just keep going. I'll edit it.
Okay. And we'll do this edit right after we talk about Top Leaf. So I'm going to quickly get into Grassland.
Okay.
Okay, and so they've also got Grasslands, which is an economical brand. So far in Alberta, we've seen 5 gram packages, and they've been in indica or sativa. Very cool stuff, great price point. People are big fans of it, for sure. And there's also a brand called Palmetto coming soon to Alberta here. It's kind of like the handy cannabis. It's tree rolls and vapes. And very cool website, worth checking out. A lot of it's kind of like stoner artwork, and just like, you click on things and they spin around, and I don't know, I had fun with it.
Oh, that's very cool.
Lastly, there's the BC Weed Co. and they're coming soon as well. And that's what I've heard. It's going to be on tuna can packaging, so there'll be like the ring to pop the top and pull it up, sealed fresh.
That's good. I think it's this industry is regulated so much that you have to do whatever you can to stand out. Now, Sundial, obviously born in Olds, but they have expanded in Alberta, in BC, and possibly across the pond.
Yeah, that's correct, Dean. So we'll talk about their facilities here. Their flagship grow facility is in Olds, Alberta. It's purpose-built modular rooms with kind of a pod system, and each pod has its own environmental controls based on the strain being grown in it. And by late 2020, this facility is expected to produce approximately 60 million grams of cannabis per year.
Wow. That's not a small number at all by any means.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah, and next we'll talk about the Rocky View, Alberta facility. And that was recently transformed into an advanced research and development facility where they test new cultivars with different nutrients, lighting, and other growing conditions. And they also do all their final quality assurance, packaging, and shipments leave from this facility. So it's kind of like the hub of where the business kind of runs there. And then in Merritt, BC, they acquired 20 acres of land in January of 2019. And that's where the BC Weed Co. cannabis is going to be grown eventually. And then, overseas, man, this is nuts. In the UK, it's called Bridge Farm, and it's 3.6 million square feet of cultivation capacity. And it's primarily used right now for hemp and production of CBD-based health and wellness products. But I managed to track down some photos of the facility online, and it's massive. It's huge.
That's amazing. And what a great story for a company that has its roots right here in Alberta. Big plans for expansion, and hopefully everything goes well. This is What's That Strain on episode number 43 of the Cannabis 101 podcast. I'm Dean Millard. Chris Ianson of Nova Cannabis, Jasper Ave, is joining us as our educator, as he does each week. You can catch full episodes at www.cannabis101podcast.ca. If you're watching us, you're looking at Strawberry Twist from Sundial. So let's chat about the history of Strawberry Twist, which is actually strawberry banana, or strawnana sometimes, as it's called.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, Straw Nano, that's more of like a street name. I've actually never heard any of my homies calling it that, but I just tracked that down. But yeah, so Strawberry Banana, kind of a cool strain. It was co-created and developed by DNA Genetics, and actually one of their farms, so the Crockett Farms, and it was in collaboration with Serious Seeds. And so the genetic breakdown of it is bubble gum crossed with banana kush. And so it's kind of two indica leaning hybrids kind of crossed to give us the strawberry banana. And also kind of has to do with that sweet flavor there, that kind of fruity flavor we'll talk about in a sec here. Two strains called bubble gum and banana kush. You bet it's gonna taste sweet.
Sure. Not a lot of is known about bubblegum, but Banana Kush is a bit of a classic strain, is it not?
Yeah, it is. Classic index strain for sure, and notably known for its banana flavor. And genetics in that one is the Ghost OG crossed with the Skunk Haze. Just happens to, the cross of those two genetics kind of produces a terpene concentration that reminds people of bananas.
Very well. The website for Sundial is www.sundialcannabis.com. They have a really nice terpene profile for each strain. They explain what terpenes are, and they sort their strains in a unique way, don't they?
Yeah, definitely with the kind of series, the mood series. So they've got the calm, they've got ease, they've got lift, spark, and what is the fifth one? Flow. There it is. Yeah, so it kind of depends. It's kind of cool though, because if they develop new strains, if you know that they're going to be growing, they can kind of like throw them into these categories. And you know, if you like, I know that I like their calm series, the Zenberry, their Twilight. It's great and chill. I'm gonna pick up a new strain that kind of falls into that family. I dig what they're doing over there for sure.
Yeah, I like it. Recommendations for a different kind of mood. As much as everybody is different and everybody has a different effect from cannabis. You and I could smoke the same strain, and I could fall asleep, and you could want to run a marathon or something like that. But they do give you kind of a guideline of what the strain is supposed to do. So that's at sundialcannabis.com. This 1 gram tub that I picked up is 18.3% THC. And when we look at the name, it's kind of a nod to the lineage. I say it's kind of a nod to the lineage with a sundial spin on it, as the strawberry twist might indicate. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that. I think too there's going to be some. They've already got a strawberry cream that is on within their arsenal. So just calling it a strawberry twist, changing things up a little bit.
Yeah, it makes it distinct from strawberry cream, right?
What was that, Dean?
It just makes it distinct from strawberry cream. Just makes it, a little bit different. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the look, as we're looking at it right now, is a tub that comes in a 1 gram. It seems a little bit big, as there's no false bottom. There's nothing underneath it. But then again, there's a lot of stuff that these companies have to get on the tub as far as government regulations.
Yeah, that's right. They've got to put their warning labels on, and this is issued from the government, so play by. It does have that kind of false bottom to it, where you look at it kind of in the tub, and then you actually like look underneath, and there's all this empty space. I mean, they do stack nice in a box, and they stack nice in our delis. And I mean, like the look of the packaging, I do appreciate because it's easy to find. Someone wants a sundial, I know, to look for the brightly colored tubs, working in the stores. It's hopefully like a lot of LPs from out east. I've seen some 1 gram packages where they've actually have like an accordion style warning label where it will allow it to be a smaller package. Hopefully we start seeing Alberta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's take a look at this strain as we're seeing it on the screen. And the first thing that you'll notice, especially in this 1 gram, maybe it's different in other ones, but small buds, which isn't a bad thing. The saying "small things come" or "good things come in small packages" comes to mind. But these are they're tight small buds.
Yeah, definitely. I also picked up a 1 gram package, and I got like 4, good sized nugs in there, which I ground up and rolled up into a joint. It was great. Definitely like a light green color to the look of it, and dark orange pistils too. Was kind of what I noticed with my stuff. Decent trichome coverage, not baked in trichomes, but that's all right. And I thought the trim job was really well done. They really kind of cleaned it up, and it was really just kind of what I want to put into a grind.
For sure, yeah. Looking at it, everything that you described, light green, and I find that the most remarkable thing is the pistils are just bursting. Sometimes we have a strain that's caked in trichomes. Other times it's different colors of greens. It's that kind of like dark orange, burnt orange pistils that seem to stand out when I look at this particular strain on camera. Anyway.
Yeah, it's noticeable for sure.
All right, the terpene profile for this one, what are we looking at?
So the primary three, caryophyllene, your fave there. That's the black pepper and kind of spicy notes to it. Myrcene is up there too, and that's can be a combination of things. It can be earthy. It can be kind of it's in mangoes as well. And then there's pinene is the third, and that's kind of, you know, as it sounds, it's going to be provide kind of a piney smell and flavor to it.
Yeah, I you know me, I'm a big myrcene caryophyllene fan, because I just I love that spiciness taste. But I'm really starting to kind of, maybe, I don't know if it's go out of my comfort zone and looking at different kind of terpenes. I'm trying to like constantly convince myself, let's try something other than caryophyllene as the main one. So I'm really liking to explore, but I never resist a strain that has caryophyllene in it. So I'm interested in exploring this terpene profile a little bit as well. When we think of myrcene, as you mentioned, it's a very common terpene that can kind of go a couple of different ways and have a couple of different I guess tastes or smells to it, depending on what it's combined with.
Yeah, that's right, Dean. And it's definitely one of the more popular terpenes. It's definitely one of the more dominant ones that's in a lot of different strains. You'll catch it in a lot of heavy couch locking date of indicas, and then you'll also catch it in some uplifting, energizing sativas too. And with that, I mean, with terpenes too, the concentration of different terpenes reacting with each other can also kind of affect the effects you might experience.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about cannabis. At some point, we'll have the general public convinced to start buying their cannabis based on terpene. I imagine, do you get some every once in a while somebody coming in? I imagine mostly it's based on THC percentage, but it must be nice when somebody comes in and has specific terpenes in mind with their cannabis.
Yeah, it is rare, a little rare, but we do catch people come in, looking for humulene in their cannabis, or that have done their research and have checked things out. And I encourage everyone to do that. There's a lot of really great websites out there where you can kind of access genetics and just Leafly alone too is a plethora of knowledge and information that you can really deep dive a lot of things.
Yeah, they do a really good job at sundialcannabis.com as well, explaining the different types of terpenes that are out there. So as far as desired effect, again, we should mention everybody is a little bit different when it comes to cannabis, but what's kind of the general or the desired effect that you got when you tried Strawberry Twist?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a very relaxed and mellow high. Keeps things chill. Definitely what I noticed initially, like a sharpened sensory perception with like my auditory and my visual stuff. So I was watching shows and I just thought I kind of like heard a bit of like a psychoactive echo. It was just in my head too, but I kind of thought like I was having a good little trip going on off the initially just put my joint out. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I got a lot of fun. Definitely created an exploratory mood for me. So I found myself kind of being a little creative, thinking outside the box a bit. And definitely not like a full-on couch locked indica strain. But I did find that happened when, at the end of my high. So if I haven't, on my burnout, I have had another joint. I do find that I am a little couch locked with the Strawberry Twist at that.
All right, so be prepared at the end of it to be a little bit tired, but doesn't immediately knock you out. So, good. We're going to talk about the 3 Ws right now, and one of them is perfect for this strain. So I'm going to give this a spin while you tell us about the 3 W's, and then we'll get into what this tastes like.
All right, 3 W's. Who, what, when. So who it's good for? Intermediate smokers. I think it's like a good like level 2, like a beginner level 2. You know, if you've tried out your entry level strains, you want to take the next step. That being said, because it's 18% indica, I don't see a whole lot of head anxiety or bad trips coming from this strain. It is just going to chill you out, put you in a really relaxed state of mind. So that's what it's good for. What it's good for: Netflix, watching movies, being quarantined at home. I think it's good for that. Hitting the couch. But not necessarily not restricted to just the couch. I think you can smoke this stuff. You can go have a long walk or a hike, and still enjoy it. Still a good euphoric head high, but there's all these fun effects with it too.
Excuse me. Excuse me. You know what I was just gonna say is, this seems like it would be a good strain once we can get outside as a group. Summer strain, late evening stroll. You go for a nice walk. Maybe it's in the River Valley in Edmonton. I don't know. By the time you get home from your walk, you're nearing the end of your high. You're ready for bed. Seems like a perfect late night summer strain.
Yeah, that's I like that, Dean. That's great. For sure. I think it's a great after dinner strain. Like it's a dessert. Mm-hmm. With how it tastes, it's sweet. It's relaxing. I think evening use is best, but we're not saying you can definitely.
Yeah, it's.
You can definitely start.
I think it's a good after dinner one for sure. I like the dessert reference that you gave. That's nice.
Sure, man.
Okay, taste test. I definitely get like a sweet. There's like a sweet. I don't know. Would you say fruity?
I think it's fruity for sure. Sweet and fruity, and smooth. I feel like it just tasted smooth, and there's also like a bubble gum flavor to it with that sweetness. Kind of like old school bubble gum, and what I noticed was definitely more banana flavor than strawberry. In terms of if we're going after the namesake and trying to figure out, definitely more of like a banana sweetness to it.
I get a sweetness. I get like pine needles. Like if you're like walking on a trail and you don't duck in time, and you get like a face full of pine needles. It's kind of what I get, and there's a little bit of a musky sweetness to it. So I obviously the sweetness with if you're talking about a fruitiness and stuff like that, but there's a little bit of like an undertones of musk, and there's something I'm trying to. I think it's the musk that I get on the exhale. Is kind of where I think I'm, because when I first tried it the other day when I first got it, I couldn't identify that, and then now the more I'm tasting it, it's kind of what I'm getting anyway. And like we said, everybody's a little bit different, but there, I think we can both agree on the sweetness of this one, the sweet taste.
Yeah, for sure. It's I always felt like it tastes like it smells.
Mm-hmm.
And it had that kind of similar, kind of like fruity, a little hay or earthy. Yeah, but pretty nice strain in terms of like flavors.
It is. So there it is. If you're watching, you're looking at Strawberry Twist from Sundial, an indica dominant hybrid. This is 18.3%. So as we mentioned, intermediate, level 2, not for the beginner, but a really good next strain if you want to take a step up. So Chris, thanks as always for joining us here on What's That Strain. Good luck with everything at Nova on Jasper Ave, as I'm sure it's going to get just a little bit busier here as we go. Thanks as always for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dean. Take care, everybody.
Bud, dope, flower, ganja, Mary Jane.
We all have our own language when it comes to cannabis.
Herb, John Lennon, plant, Thai stick, salad.
So let's explore another weed word of the day.
Samuel L. Jackson, The Hobbit's Leaf, Lady Gaga, 420.
All right, we also haven't done weed word of the day, so I've been slacking. Sorry about that. But hey, man, I had some mango haze. I got some focus, and here I am, ready to do weed word of the day, where, you know, we're just going to start celebrating like one word instead of going through a whole bunch. And I'd love for you to submit your own weed word of the day. If you have a special word for weed, drop us a line on Twitter at the Cannabis 101, Instagram at the Cannabis 101 podcast. You can get us on Facebook at Cannabis 101 podcast, and you can email us as well, Cannabis 101 podcast at gmail.com, and head to cannabis101podcast.ca for full episodes and more. So the weed word of the day that I'm going with today, and you know, it's we had Mike, the Grow Pro, on. So I thought this was kind of fitting. It's backyard boogie. So it's more than one word, but backyard boogie, I've never heard of this, is I guess slang for home grow, for growing in your backyard, for growing your own weed. Now, as Mike said, in our climate, growing outside is not going to get you the greatest weed, and that's kind of what this refers to, is not great weed grown in your own backyard. And doesn't really pass the smell test or the eye test for that matter. So backyard boogie for home grow is the weed word of the day. And if you are indeed watching us on the WeedTube or YouTube or our various social media streams, thanks very much for doing that. If not, check out our channels, the Cannabis 101 podcast. That's where you can find them on YouTube or the WeedTube. And we also stream them quite a bit on social media. So you can find out where we record. And, you know, once we get back to normal life, Chris Ianson and I won't be doing things through Skype or the phone. And we can be doing them in person once again. So the weed word of the day, once again, is the backyard boogie.
This is the Cannabis 101 podcast, your guide through the legalization and consumption of cannabis in Canada and beyond.
And that just about wraps things up. I just want to remind you about the April Appreciation Party going on at the Cannabis 101 podcast website. That is www.cannabis101podcast.ca. It's simple. Head to the site, hit subscribe. You're in the mix for our weekly newsletter. We're not going to bombard your inbox with a whole bunch of stuff. You know, if there's breaking news that we have an announcement for, we'll send that out. But most of the time, it's going to be every Friday at 4:20. Once you're in the mix, you are eligible for our weekly, every Friday, draw for a Regal cigar. That's in April, every Friday in April. We've already done one. And in the mix for the grand prize, which right now consists of a beaker bong, courtesy of Spirit Leaf Argyle. Thank you very much, Jessica. As well as a DNA kit from Lobo Genetics, our good friends there. Thank you very much, Sam. And, of course, the grand prize wouldn't be the same without the 4-pack of the Regal cigar. The full collection. Big thanks to Andre from Regal Cigars. So head to the website, subscribe. You're in the mix. You'll get a newsletter which recaps a bunch of stuff and has a whole bunch of cool things that we think you will enjoy. But I guess you'll have to make your own decision on that. And that is going to indeed wrap things up for us on episode 43 today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps to improve the show. If you think you'd make a good guest or you'd like to be involved as an advertiser, please send me an email. Cannabis101podcast at gmail.com. That's Cannabis101podcast at gmail.com. And as usual, we will leave you with the sounds of My Dead Dog, the artist, My Dead Dog, as he plays us out with Marijuana, an exclusive for the Cannabis 101 podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. Remember, it's not just about getting high, it's about getting healthy.
Another bowl for me, please. You get in my brain, take me down on my knees. Oh, lemon cheese. Marijuana, easy rider, Peter Fonda. You get in my brain, I love you, Mary Jane, marijuana. Oh, hello, tight stick. You know the shit that's tied to a stick. You get in my brain, you're driving me insane. Oh, hello, tight stick. Yeah.